Mr. Wright! That piece cut out from his vest. Could that be the cloth we found inside Chief Gant's safe? What's this? It's a handprint. That cloth, it had fingerprints on it. Whosever fingerprints those are must be the real murderer. What? But those fingerprints... They're yours, Emma. Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright?
Anyway, let's get on with the cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flush out the real murderer. Very well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination. Hold it!
Who said that? It's Gant, of course. Come now, Archie. This is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen.
Chief Gant!
What now, you want to make me out as the bad guy too? If so, I'd like to put in a word or two in my defense.
Objection! I'm afraid it's too late for that.
What?
You already declined testimony. That means you forfeited your right to make statements of any sort.
This must be the risk the judge was talking about.
Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the sound of the noose tightening around your own neck.
Ah, so what? You think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements.
What do you mean?
The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence.
Yes, that's true. Wait, you mean you still have some conclusive evidence?
No, I don't, but someone does.
Someone?
So then, what's your excuse, Righto? Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death? Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubt?
Is this true, Mr. Wright?
If I show that piece of evidence now, Ema's sure to be made out as the murderer.
Mr. Wright, if you have any more evidence, present it now. And if you try to conceal anything, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries.
What do I do now? I'd better think this through carefully. I can't afford to make the wrong decision. Should I present that piece of evidence? The one that shows who really killed Prosecutor Marshall? Nah. Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. What? You lie!
Chief Gant?
You opened my safe! I know you took what was inside. The conclusive evidence. I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Wright, why don't you show them? We found it together. Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth, don't you? You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it.
What are you talking about, Chief Gant?
Can't you figure it out? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area?
Looks like part of it's been cut off for some reason. You mean you have this in your safe? What? That means you, the chief of police, concealing evidence. This is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department.
Impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, Righto. Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened.
What? You mean you admit to it?
I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana. So you really were manipulating her?
I knew Lana.
if I made it look like the blame lay with her sister, then when she saw the scene, she would ask for my aid.
So you assisted Miss Sky.
I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room.
And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Dark convicted.
When we rearranged the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. I did this before Lana arrived at the scene.
2 pieces of evidence? You mean those items in your safe? But why?
For insurance, of course.
Insurance?
I was sure my plan would work, but it's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for a murder that girl committed.
You mean you were calculating that far ahead while forging the evidence?
Who do you take me for, a fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jar fragment? I hid the most legible part of Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to go and wipe blood off all pieces.
But if you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate the message on this jar, too?
Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept 1 more item for insurance.
You mean that piece of cloth?
Come on, Wright, cough it up already. I know you have it. What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright?
So you admit to it then, Chief Gant, that you were hiding the cloth you cut off the victim's vest in your safe.
Yes, I admit it. I didn't want to have to do that being chief and all, but it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you could present.
Foolish move, Righto. You should have known it then before it was too late.
It's been a long battle, but the moment of truth has finally arrived. As long as I don't mess up here, victory is mine. Let's show that evidence. Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now. Alright then, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall. That would be this strip of cloth. Take that! Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest?
Oh, yes. At last you've finally brought it out of the open.
There's a handprint on this piece of cloth. Your Honor, the prosecution requests that immediately be sent to the lab for analysis. This handprint on the leather, there must have been a strong impact for it to be left so clearly. You mean, it could not have been forged. It must be authentic, conclusive evidence.
You're as slow on the uptake as ever, Worthy.
What?
Think about it. Righto had all this time to present this evidence. Yet he was reluctant to do so. Why would that be?
You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that?
Mr. Wright, do you really know?
Whoever the fingerprints belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they? Very well. I'll tell you. It should be okay now. Everything's proceeding as predicted. The person whom these fingerprints belong to are... Take that! Emma? Emma Sky?
What? They're mine?
I'm sorry, Emma.
But why? Why didn't you tell me? Ho ho ho! You're really something, Righto. You knew this girl did it all along, and you still tried to pin the murder on me.
So it's true. Tragic but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death.
How could you? You monster!
Miss Sky.
You knew whose fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't.
Miss Sky,
It's not over yet. What? I said this trial isn't over yet.
Ha! But I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career, too. You purposely concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Aren't you going to tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer?
Before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up.
Oh? And what's that?
Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall?
What?
Chief Gant, you are absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask?
It was Emma Skye, wasn't it?
I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction.
What? A contradiction? What is this fool babbling about?
I'm talking about a contradiction, one that proves who the real killer is.
Mr. Wright, this piece of cloth, what could it possibly contradict?
Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth. It is the picture. Take that!
And what exactly is this supposed to be?
This is the picture Miss Skye took. Take a good look at it. See where the piece of his vest was cut out?
Yes. His shirt is showing underneath. It's hard to make out with all the blood on his vest, though.
Exactly my point. His chest is soaked with blood. That's only natural. His lungs, no doubt, were punctured. Blood poured out of his mouth. Oh, but that piece of cloth.
Wait. There's no blood on it.
Oh, crap. Since Emma Skye's fingerprints are on this cloth, there's no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword!
No, this is nonsense!
Now then, Chief Gant, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside.
He most likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked down.
If so, then tell me, who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Miss Skye, picked up the unconscious prosecutor, and impaled him on the armor's sword? He's having a Hollywood heart attack.
Then, to make it look like Emma was responsible for the prosecutor's death, said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood. Then he broke the jar on purpose to leave behind a clue, and make Lana believe her sister did it.
Remember what you admitted only moments ago? That you personally cut up this bloodless piece of the victim's vest? Ironic, isn't it? Through the very act of creating insurance, you proved that you were the actual murderer! Huge no. It's finished. We think. Who said objection?
Oh, that was close, Righto. You almost had me. Sorry, but you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations.
What do you mean you refute his allegations?
You see, that piece of cloth is illegal evidence.
Order, order. What nonsense is this?
Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a suspect. Remember, Archie? Earlier, old Righto here concealed that piece of cloth. So then, what's your excuse, Righto? You do have some conclusive evidence, don't you?
Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time.